I've got a couple of interesting things that I can share with you. I've had Jewish friends in South Africa, and I've had some students in the school where I taught, and then at one stage I did study a little bit of theology, just enough to make me dangerous. And then I also, one of the things I did as a student, just to get money, is I worked for the South African Broadcasting Corporation as a sound technician. And one of the interesting things we did was we made a movie, well, a TV program, documentary, a series of documentaries on Jewish life and how that impacts on Christianity, and how it's the same, how it's different. So, yeah, that's my background. Now, one thing that we need to understand about being Jewish is they take their scriptures extremely seriously, and they take it extremely literally. If it's written, then that's how it is. Now, okay, you've heard about the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, which we know as the Pentateuch. That's a Latin name. Torah is a Jewish name, a Hebrew name for the first 5 books, the books of known as the books of Moses. But they share the Old Testament with us, because they don't call it the Old Testament. Sometimes they do, but they don't like the name, because for them there's no New Testament, because they are still expecting the Messiah, and they don't see Jesus as the Messiah. And that's where we differ very much from them. So we come from the same roots, but we've got something extra, because for us Jesus was the promised one, the Son of God that came. Now, I can just give you a few examples of how they take the Old Testament, what they call then their Bible, how they take it literally. Just let me get this. Okay, I'll get that up just now. One example. In Exodus 23 verse 19, and in 2 other places, we read, you may not cook a kid, which means a baby goat, in its mother's milk. Now, we understand that because from the context, if you read the whole verse, it's obvious that they're talking about, or that Moses or God is talking about sacrifices, bringing your best fruit, grain, meat to the temple, to the tabernacle in those days, to sacrifice that for God. So we give God our best. But now, when they look at these little words there, and they take it literally, you're not allowed to cook a baby animal in its mother's milk. They say you cannot mix milk and meat. They must be kept separately. They're not allowed to touch one another. So, I'll come over here. Computers. What you see there is a modern, wealthy Jewish kitchen. What is odd? What is strange there?
Ovens.
Oven?
Down by the chairs. Oh.
There's a,
Is it a microwave?
Is that even a...
At the end of the breakfast
So the ovens.
By the 3 chairs on the right.
there's an oven there.
It's an oven.
There's no...
There's like the wheelie thing.
Oh yeah, there is no fridge.
What wheelie thing? Like it's a mess.
There's no pantry.
Was it a wheelie?
Yeah.
Keep the night drawers.
Do you see the cat here?
Yeah, that's the
Sorry, the
so
what?
that they can pop up with.
And the other one, well, we can't see the fridge is behind us.
How do you know that, sir? How do you know the
Sorry.
fridge is behind you?
There are 3 taps.
Well, 2.
3.
I don't get it.
Where's the third
Now,
1, 2, and then the one on the wall.
it's not so absolutely obvious.
What is weird?
Oh yeah, but that one is for boiling water.
Yeah.
They have double kitchens.
Wow.
Now, I couldn't find a picture on the internet at all of the one that we worked at.
Because you can't.
That one had a kitchen this side and a kitchen this side and a red line taped, a red line
Can't see
in
it.
the floor. A mirror of one kitchen on the other side.
That's why it's 2 lights like the same as like perfect.
2 basins, 2 taps, a double stove.
Whoa, and there's
Well, there was reaction into things.
So do I.
Well, this one isn't 100% symmetrical, but they've got double of everything. That means if you were to open some of the drawers on this side, on the one side will be knives and forks and spoons and cups and saucers and plates. The other side, exactly that. Some of them would have a little red spot on everything and a little white spot on everything else. Because you cannot use a knife that you cut meat with to cut something, to cut cheese. So you've got to put everything down, wash your hands, dry them very well, and cut the cheese. Because the milk and milk products and anything that was in another kitchen that touched where milk and meat could have touched, you're not allowed to do. You're not even allowed in your shop to sell products where milk and meat can be mixed.
Wait, what happens if milk and meat like touch?
Then you've got to throw everything away and you've got to clean everything out.
like everything or just the cheese?
Well, all the stuff that was,
Like why?
let's say one of the kids, maybe a little 4-year-old doesn't understand, they carry a piece of cheese and they put it on bread where there's meat already. Then you've got to throw the whole thing away, wash your hands.
So you can't have ham and cheese toasties? I'm never gonna be Jewish.
No, cheeseburger is not kosher.
What?
Kosher is the word for acceptable.
Then why don't you just take the cheese out?
It's acceptable.
So there's no
They've
Mac
touched,
is
they've
there.
already
And
touched.
then
You
that's not
can't, because it's already touched.
What if you...
So-
what's in it?
No,
What?
no.
What if you eat
See, I
like
can pretty much be vegan.
Ah, now there's a question I was waiting for. What if you eat a piece of, let's say you have a glass of milk and then you eat a piece of meat?
Yes.
Raw steak.
You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to now this is where they differ from one another, because if you start digging into these things on the internet especially, then it gets confusing after a while, because they have what they call the Talmud, which is commentaries written on Jewish law. And the Talmud is about 500 books with commentaries, and they're very complicated, they're hard to read. It gets very complicated after a while, Some people, some rabbis say 1 hour, because after 1 hour the meat will be digested,
Oh.
then you can eat, drink milk or cheese.
What if you pour milk on a goat?
On a live animal?
Yeah.
No problem.
Oh. And then wait, so what if you pour it on a goat and then you kill the goat and then eat it, but it already has milk on it?
Well, you're going to, before you kill the goat anyway, after you've killed it, you're going to wash it anyway, because there's a certain way that you slaughter an animal, which again is quite complicated. For meat to be kosher, it needs to be slaughtered in a specific way. And don't worry, it's one of the processes is you wash it very well.
Oh, okay.
So that's fine.
Oh.
Now, this carries on. One of the most difficult things is the Sabbath.
Sunday.
Sunday? No. The Sabbath starts Friday evening,
Oh.
sundown,
Yeah, okay. Just get it.
and ends
Just get it.
Saturday evening
Oh.
when you can see 3 stars. Now, between then, you're not allowed to work. Now, what is work?
Pressing elevated door buttons.
That's work.
Labor.
No.
Holy.
No, you can pour water to drink, but
Labor work.
actually I didn't research that one. But you will find that there are certain rules on how it works. You're not allowed to open the fridge door, because that's work. You're not allowed to open a door. That's why you can't press the elevator button.
Can you do a light switch?
No.
What does it do?
It's not timers.
The whole day.
You are not allowed to touch anything
Can you turn
that
on the
works with
TV?
electricity.
Oh.
Just turn on it there.
What about opening an actual
And then
physical door?
No, but
Can't do that.
But that's not.
What about the
That's
refrigerator?
work. You can't do that.
So what if you like fire?
Leave the lights on. It'll put out.
Yes. Now, with an automatic door, it's not a problem because you didn't open the door. So if you walk towards a door and it opens by itself, or it's already open, fine. You can ask a non-believer to open the door for you.
Oh.
Because
So you hire a
You have like a token non-believer friend that you just like have with you.
So, the Sabbath, 15 minutes before the Sabbath starts, there is a ceremony of lighting the candles, where you bless the candles, you pray, and then you light enough candles, because when Sabbath starts, work is dealing with fire. That's why we're dealing with electricity, because electricity is like fire. So, you cannot light a fire when the Sabbath starts. So you cannot light the candles. So the candles that are lighted need to stay lighted until you go to bed. Once you can blow out a candle, if a candle goes out, that's it. So they like these candles. They are long enough to last the evening, because obviously after, when people go to bed, all the candles are blown out. But then when you go to bed, if you need to get up, well, hopefully there would be something on. That what they do sometimes is they've got little night lights for the kids, so that they don't fall in the darkness. But you can't switch it on.
They're just normal
Some of them do. Some of them do. Now, that means you must be very careful when you carry a chair. Oh, no work, no travel.
Oh.
Oh, what is
Wait, how
travel?
do you walk around then?
No, going here
No.
is not travel.
Oh.
That's just walking.
But
If you walk less than I think 100 meters or something,
100 meters.
or is it,
That's like
there's a certain distance
Yeah.
that you're allowed to walk.
In the whole day or just like
So?
in one?
Saturday.
No, in one go.
Ah,
Oh,
so what if
so-
you like walk 90 meters, start like have a 5-minute rest and then walk another like 100?
If you had somebody that carried a chair for you, a non-Jew,
I just sit on the ground.
and they put the chair down and you can sit on the chair, then of course you can rest a few minutes and then get up and walk again. But so what happened all over the world over the last 2,000 years, more and more, is Jews needed to stay close to the synagogue. So in one neighborhood where we lived for a while in South Africa, I was looking for a cheap flat and I couldn't understand why the flats in this area are so ridiculously cheap, where just one street block away they're very expensive and difficult to find. Yeah, there are plenty of flats and they're neat and tidy and modern and clean and wonderful and cheap. So we moved in, me and my wife and our little kids. And then we discovered this is a Jewish neighborhood. It's within the prescribed distance from the synagogue. And of course, in that area, they were mostly wealthy, so they didn't want to stay in flats, they stayed in houses. So, they have to live close to a synagogue. Otherwise, they have all these problems because they can't use a car. Now, the funny thing we discovered is the first night when we thought we'll go out for something to eat, first Friday evening, we walked out and all the shops had closed. Nothing, the place was dead. Nobody, you couldn't see anybody in the streets, no children, nothing, it was just quiet.
Are they not allowed to? They're allowed outside. Go for a run outside.
It's a leaf.
What?
Go for a run outside.
A run?
Can the children not go run around outside?
No,
So what do you
no. You spend your evening, they play board games, they,
Well, they can play board games outside.
Okay, so what if like someone needs to go to the bathroom, but the door's shut and there's no one there to open the door?
Just go find a number.
okay, that one I don't know. I don't know.
Break the door.
Now,
Or like what if they need to go to the bathroom and they wanted to like close the door behind them?
What if they wanted to flush the toilet?
okay,
Wait. Is it work to close the door?
Breathing is working.
Then you can open it. Yeah.
So if you go to the bathroom, you leave the door open.
Oh.
well, okay, I don't know. I don't know, but I can tell you they know. There will be rules. And that's why they, when they go to a Jewish school, Orthodox school, they actually learn a lot. They've got the party like us, but that's quite a serious subject where you've got to learn all these rules about what you can do and what you can't do.
That sounds cool.
So how do they roll the dice?
I don't
They
know.
lift it up when they roll it.
No, but that's work.
No, it's not. In the
You-
video, they
you
were
see-
fucking and they're like,
You see, it all depends on your definition of work. That's actually,
oh, but yeah, in the video they had a board game, but it was different. They just like they had like a hand here, and then it was a rubber band, and you like brought the ball back against it, and then it shot forward.
you see, they've got ways around it. Because the original way that it was explained in the Talmud is of course terminology that was for agriculture, for a different lifestyle of ours. No planting, no watering, no planting, so you can't plant a seed, you can't water a seed. Now, that means
You have to.
when you carry a chair for a short distance, which you can, because that is necessary. So if you carry a chair, let's say outside, and you put it in, don't put it in the garden. Don't put it in the garden, because it might poke holes in the sand, and that's not. The rules are how far you escalate and for what reason and what.
Wait, so do you have to take your shoes off then? Because, like, putting your shoes on.
No, but you won't make a small seeds. Okay, can we stop here for